Ashley.
Hey, Robin.
How are you?
Amazing as always. Thank you for asking, though. How about you?
I'm actually pretty amazing too.
Yay.
I I am on day 55. What day did I say I was on? I'm on day 56 of
That's
75
incredible.
hard. I
Oh,
will get there. I
20
will
days or
get
something
there.
left, or 19, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
19. Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I can't do the water. That would be my hardest part.
The water is crazy. The
hmm
water is, yeah, still crazy. Anyway,
hmm
guess what we're going to talk about today?
Uh, well, we keep mixing up the name of this one. I'm not gonna guess, but I will say it's, what did we say?
Should be
Shoulda,
supposed to.
should be supposed to. We were like, ought to, should be. Anyway,
Something.
something or
Ashley and
other.
I
But
Ashley and I have been talking about this for quite some time, and we have always come up with, when you graduate from high school, what should you be? Where should you go? What should you do? And then when you're later in life or when you're retired, you think back on your life and you think, what should have I done? What was I supposed to do? What was I supposed to be? And Ashley and I thought it would be really interesting to bring on two entrepreneurs, one younger and one a little bit older, and how they got started, what motivates people when they're younger, and what motivates people when they're older.
yeah, it's truly going to be awesome. I mean, it's just so great to get two different perspectives and know that everyone should be or ought to or supposed to is different, and yours is going to be different too. And I'm excited to hear what their whys are and what their should be's and should have done's are going to be. So, do you want to introduce them?
I will. We have two guests today,
Yay,
which
two.
is very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
One is Dr.
First.
Laura Pettler, and she is the forensic criminologist for the Dr. Oz Show and co-executive producer and host of award-nominated web TV series, Notorious True Crime Stories with Laura Pettler. And her resume, Ashley, is insane.
I was looking at it. It just was scrolling. You keep scrolling on her page.
It is. We're going to post a link to this website because Dr. Laura
Have to
is
see it.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Not only is she amazing, she is a wonderful person.
Mm-hmm.
I found Dr. Laura at CrimeCon 2018, which was in Nashville, Tennessee, where Ashley is. And I didn't literally meet Dr. Laura, but what I did do was, there's a big group of us, as I've talked about before, with CrimeCon and Kevin,
Mm-hmm.
who we interviewed quite a while ago. Anyway, I became friends with Dr. Laura on Facebook and followed through her journeys. She is just amazingly accomplished. And some of the things that she's really into is obviously forensic criminology. She also has a ranch. She also has Westminster award-winning dogs.
So
She has
cute.
beautiful Friesland horses.
Oh,
And she's doing something called Dwellivate, and she's a DIYer. So this woman runs the gamut of being just at the pinnacle of life.
I thought you were going to say she runs the galaxy, and I was not going to correct you. I was like, she does.
I think Dr. Laura does run the galaxy.
I think she does.
Holy camole. Yes, it's amazing. I could go on and on and on of all of the awards. You will hear that she did just recently win yet again another award in 2020. But what really stands out about Dr. Laura is, not only is she a wonderful person, but she has achieved so much in such a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
In 2019, Dr. Laura Pettler was named one of the most influential women in forensics in the world. Just think about that.
Yeah, that's mind-blowing.
One of the most influential women in forensics in the world.
The world.
I mean, it kind of gives me chills a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She's amazing. She is personable. Looking through all of your accomplishments, I think you guys are really going to love the interview. You started a business at a very young age. Can you tell us about what motivated you to get started, why you got started in the business that you did?
So, business has always been one of the things that I envisioned myself doing from a very young age. I started out when I was in high school doing nails for people, actually, which was kind of crazy because I learned how to do nails. I went to manicuring school while I was in high school because I got pregnant when I was 16 and went out on my own and was living alone as a 17-year-old with a baby. And I had to make a little bit of money to just, buy basic things and pay for some basic things. And at that time I had help, I had some daycare help and some other help that was offered through different programming in the community. But it was one of those things that I thought, I need to do something else. And I had been working since I was young in a horse barn and taking care of horses, training horses. And so this was that was my first business, which was doing nails. And I did acrylic nails. It wasn't a big business or anything. It was just at my kitchen table, but it kind of got my feet wet as far as I take you have a skill, you develop a trade or something, and then you start a business. So I did that and then graduated from college and moved to North Carolina and started my second company when I was 22 called Regent Equestrian. Regent was one of my horses when I was a kid. And I taught riding lessons, trained horses for a living for several years, and ran a very successful lesson and training and boarding program for horses here in North Carolina. I closed down that program and that business in end of 2002, I think it was in beginning of 2002, sorry. And I went from there into my graduate degree, which was in criminal justice, forensic science, forensic psychology. And then when I graduated with that in 2003, I came back to North Carolina and worked in the private sector for a while for a private company called the Laboratory of Forensic Science in New York, owned by the very famous Dr. Herbert MacDonald, who was one of the gurus of bloodstain pattern analysis for the world.
Wow.
And I was very young working for him, in my late 20s. And about 2 years in, he said, okay, I'm pushing you out of the nest. You need to start your own forensic consultation company. And I was like, are you crazy? I couldn't believe that he would suggest such a thing. He said, nope, you're very, very good. And, you need to start your own company. So he did. He pushed me kind of out of the nest to do it. I still worked for him, but pushed me out. And in June of 2005, I started Carolina Forensics, which was my first go at my own crime scene company. I focused on bloodstain pattern analysis and a bit of behavioral analysis. And from there, it just grew. I went to, this will sound crazy, but I was also a singer. I was a professional singer. Some people know that, some people don't know that, but I was a professional singer and had a secondary business called Laura Pettler Music. And so I would go out, I had a band, and I would go out and sing on the weekends and, play music, write music. And I happened to be at this gig called National Night Out. It's a law enforcement sponsored gig for the community, and they had me performing there. And lo and behold, I met the district attorney for my county. And he and I began talking, and he's like, your music is excellent. I said, thank you. And then the chief of police walked up, and he said, you two probably do need to know each other, because she does this weird stuff with blood stains and stuff, and, cold cases and stuff. So you probably do need to talk with her. And so it sparked this conversation between myself and the district attorney, who then proceeded to hire me shortly after that meeting that night where we met to work a cold case for him. And once I did, I ended up being hired by North Carolina to run its first and only bloodstain pattern program in a DA's office that was actually titled Crime Scene Reconstruction and Behavioral Analysis Program. On the side, I still ran Laura Pettler Music, and I still ran Carolina Forensics, but I worked out of state for Carolina Forensics because I worked for the state of North Carolina. So after that, it just it just moved forward into more forensic work. And then I retired from professional music in 2009. And then in 2015, I was signed to do a television show. I work in true crime television for networks like Oxygen, ID, Reels, and, for shows that are broadcast on true crime networks.
Mm-hmm.
And I signed to do a show that was going to pull me out of the field from doing my own casework.
Mm-hmm.
And so a team of people got together here for Carolina Forensics and said, we're going to create Laura Pettler and Associates. So Laura Pettler and Associates is the doing business as disregarded entity of Carolina Forensics, the LLC. And so that's where we are now, 15 years later, with the company, 16 years later. And we were voted number one in the world for victim-centered death investigation in 2019. And we were actually just voted we just won the same award yesterday, actually. I just got notification and an email yesterday. We won the same award for 2020.
That's fantastic.
So, thank you. So that, that is the nutshell version, of my private sector work. And I was the underdog, I was the person with the baby as a teenager, and people treated me very, very poorly. Everyone from people in the community to school teachers who, quite frankly, should be ashamed of themselves for kicking a kid when they're down and out, just trying to make it. Everybody said I ruined my life by having a baby at 17. They all said that I wouldn't amount to anything, that I would be a statistic. And my response was, I will absolutely be a statistic, but you're on the wrong side of the continuum.
I love that. That's a great way. You always like to put a positive spin. That's amazing.
Yeah, because I knew me. And I knew that I had the grit and the determination and discipline to do anything I wanted in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I just needed to put my mind to it and dedicate myself to it. And so that's what I did. And I am a statistic. I am a former teenage mother who was out on her own at 17 with a very successful business, years later, and two successful businesses in between. So yes, you can do anything you want to.
What's the one last thing that you want to let our listeners know? What got you through those really hard times when you may have wanted to get up? Maybe you didn't ever want to give up, but what got you through the hardest times to keep on your path of success?
When my daughter was born, when I was 17, she was born in 92. I'll be 46 in about a week. So she's now 28. I'm 45, about to turn 46. And when she was growing up, it was not a situation where I had additional assistance from her biological father. So it was a situation where I had to be the mother and the father and the primary breadwinner and the only breadwinner. And so, I worked very, very hard, multiple jobs, and, wanting to give her a good life and good opportunity in her life was what really drove me to make sure that I was using every single possible talent and ability that I had to make money, which for me included homicide investigation, music, and horses. Those are the three things that I do the best.
Yeah.
And your dogs. I followed Sophia.
Oh yeah, my dogs. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Sophia.
Sophia Claire.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
She's
Sophia
so cute. I just
winner.
love her.
Oh, thank you. She's a very successful dog in the dog show world. She won a third place ribbon at the national championship for the French Bulldog National Championship in 2018, and she won the best female French Bulldog at the Westminster Kennel Club in New York City in 2019.
Yep.
So she is a very highly decorated French Bulldog.
She
The
is.
family, the success. How cute.
I
Thank
followed
you.
your trip.
It's an honor to have Sophia Claire.
I followed your trip, Dr. Pettler, when you were at Westminster. So, yep,
Did you really?
I did. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, that was. Oh my gosh! Well, then you remember how shocked I was.
Yes. Yes.
You know, my dream, as you know, then it was to breed, raise, train, show my own line at Westminster. And, you know, that's why I've been doing this 10 years with French Bulldogs and, you know, working my way up. And so it wasn't about winning at all. I had no intention, no thought in my mind ever about winning any kind of ribbon at Westminster. It was the fact that I qualified to go. I got to register and enter a class, and, you know, a dog that I bred made it all the way to the very top, the pinnacle of the dog showing world. And so when, you know, when the judge pointed at me and Sophia, of course, Sophie just stood there like in her stacked little perfect pose and didn't do anything. Well, I was frozen because he pointed at me, and I didn't realize, you know, I was just like, he's pointing at me. He walks over and says, "You won, get up." And I was like, what? You know, I mean, I seriously was. I just looked at him, and all of my dog show friends, all the professionals, you know, they're all there on the side of the ring. They've been cheering for me for years in this thing.
Our other
and, you know,
guest
they're cheering.
is
They're like, "Oh,
John
no,"
Harrington,
you know, screaming.
and he runs
And I
what's
am like
called the
trying to
Monarch
pull
Public
myself up off the
House.
ground, literally, because I was knelt down.
Since
showing Sophia.
1894,
Oh my
the Monarch
gosh, it
Tavern
was
has
just
never
unbelievable.
closed its
It was
doors.
the most unbelievable
And
moment.
that makes
I could not
the
believe
tavern the
I still
longest
don't believe it
running
sometimes.
tavern in the state of Wisconsin. It's been a pleasure.
John, you are very
also went to
welcome.
high
Yes,
school with
thank
my
you for
mother in
having
Fort
me.
Atkinson, Wisconsin.
Thank you.
Okay.
I've known
Well,
John
she is a
for a
doll.
while.
She is a
I
doll.
wouldn't say a super long time, but as my mom and I have been discussing when she comes back to Wisconsin, some of the things that she and John did, and we went through one of her old scrapbooks, and there was John in the scrapbook. So I am going to try to get a really good picture of my mom and John when they were younger.
I cannot wait. I haven't seen it either, and I'm just so excited for it. I just can't imagine high school versions of them. He's funny.
John is, yes.
Your
John is
mom's
somebody.
hilarious too, but
Yeah, John and Dr. Laura are two people that you could sit down and just talk with for hours.
mm-hmm.
So why don't you tell us about your history or your businesses when you started them, and then your latest business venture? Let's talk about the Monarch Public House, the renovations, all of it.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk for a while, and I'm Irish, and I can do that. All right.
I love it.
Like your mother, I'm 71. I started my first business when I was 12 years old, and that was back in the day. Yeah, that was back in the day when your newspaper was delivered by kids on bicycles, and you were responsible for purchasing those. You had to purchase those newspapers daily, and then you were responsible for collecting the subscription money from your customer and delivering, and also finding new customers. In other words, you had to promote, you had to market, you had to sell. And my father had bought me a really old fat tire bicycle for $5, and our hometown was fairly hilly. At least my route was hilly, and going up and down those hills with a single speed fat tire, probably a 1945 bicycle, was a real pain in the keister. And so I decided that I needed to have a new bicycle, but my dad was not about to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, well, I'm going to make the money myself. And in reading, I was a Cub Scout at that time, and reading in, I think it was in Boy's Life or one of those magazines, there was a advertisement in the back about making your own money by selling Christmas cards.
Oh.
And so I asked my dad about doing that, and I asked him if he would front me the first few boxes, give me the money to buy it, and then I would pay him out of my take, my weekly take from the newspaper route. And I was going to be the first kid in Fort Atkinson to have a 3-speed English racer bicycle. And this is obviously long before the days of Trek and everything like that, but it had a little shifter on the handlebars, so for first speed, second speed, third speed, and it was the thin tire English style racer bike. And I had to sell 60 boxes of Christmas cards in order to get that. Well, my dad thought I was out of my mind. It'll be a piece of crap, all this kind of stuff. And but I had a route of newspaper customers and what I thought were a lot of relatives, which turns out there weren't that many. So I started selling Christmas cards. And after about a month and a half, I had sold 60 boxes and then waited for my bicycle to arrive in the mail. And it did. And I ended up using that. I was able to go up and down the hills easier because I had 3 different speeds. And I had that bicycle for many, many years. And that really taught me about how to handle money, how to collect, how to sell, how to promote yourself. What I do is I tell people that if they would buy 1 box of Christmas cards, I would take $2 off of their weekly subscription rate and pay that myself. So
Brilliant.
my bicycle ended up costing me out of my pocket probably another $40. But hey, I got new customers and I got a bicycle.
Exactly.
There you go.
So that kind of started it as I got a little bit older and you get to be 16 and you have a car. And as you know, I was a musician in high school and on into college. And I was out doing gigs and getting paid cash for it from the time I was 16 on. And after college, I only went to school for a year. I got kind of bored with that. I was having too much fun, and they said, "Well, you got to make grades too."
Mm-hmm.
So I've never been a really big, really good student, other than things that I really like. And into my 20s, I got into my late teens, and into my 20s, I got into the financial world. Ended up as a president of a very large teachers credit union.
Wow.
I couldn't be a teacher, but I made them loans. And learned a lot from that, and really never stopped being an entrepreneur in one way, shape, or form. After I moved to Green Bay and met my wife, Lori, I got into newspaper industry and started writing columns for the Packers and things like that. And from there, I got out of that and got into industrial safety. And long story short, industrial safety, you end up working in occupational health, work comp issues, things like that, how to keep the workers safe wherever they're working in, whatever hazardous system they're working in. And this nurse and I had a theory about returning people to work that were out after an injury, an illness, whatever. Instead of sitting at home and watching the soap operas, we needed to get them to work, even doing light duty. And we couldn't get a doctor to go along with us. And doctors say, "Oh no, give them 2 weeks off." We'd say, "Well, no, they're fine. Let them sort paper clips or something." So one day we're having breakfast and I said, "Well, to hell with it. Why don't we start our own clinic?" And she said, "Well, you're not a doctor and I'm just a nurse." I said, "Not only am I not a doctor, I'm just a trombone player." And, we had $1,500 between us. So we went out and started a clinic. And we did get to know a doctor that would stand behind us and work with us on some of our theories on return to work. And we met another couple of guys that were serious real estate people. They would build buildings and sell them and rent them out and everything like that. And they ended up building this big building in this new kind of industrial park in Green Bay. And they built us a clinic. And we had a pharmacy, we had x-ray, we had a lab, It was the first walk-in urgent care clinic in the history of Wisconsin. And this was in 1991, 92.
Wow.
And it was especially unique in that it was owned by a nurse and some guy.
Some
That's
Irish
always-
guy.
An Irish guy, yeah. And we ended up with about 40 employees. And I actually, did you ever hear the thing about C and D students hire the A and B students? Well, I'm living proof that the C and D students can hire doctors. And it was my job to make sure they knew how to use the other side of their brain, the imagination and relationship building and so forth. So we had a very unique approach. We ended up, that was on the west side of Green Bay. Green Bay is separated by a big river off of the lakes. And the east side of Green Bay, we got tied in with a couple of insurance guys that had become extremely successful in the industry. And they helped us build a second clinic that I built again from scratch. And so we had 2 clinics in Green Bay, and we did business in about a 3-county area for everything from work comp to your child's got pink eye or an ear infection. And you could walk in and be seen, and at about 1/3 the cost of what clinics or the emergency room was charging. And the nurse practitioners were the primary caregivers, and we had 1 doctor that oversaw prescriptions and oversaw the care and everything that was prescribed and so forth. So we were only paying for 1 doctor who made $400,000 a year instead of 10 doctors all making $400,000 a year. We had nurse practitioners making about $60,000 or $70,000, and RNs and LPNs would be the people that dealt with it. So anyhow, that was one of the things I did. Before that, I had been involved I started the first business-to-business telemarketing company to do appointments and to help them get new products to market, things like that. Before that, I had started a sports complex in Green Bay with a softball diamond and volleyball courts, and we put in the volleyball courts and horseshoe pits, and we started doing big events, tractor pulls and everything like that, and 4th of July fireworks. And that was when I had my accident. That would have been in '82, had a motorcycle accident, and that kept me in the hospital for about a month, and screwed me up pretty bad for about 2 or 3 years. And of course, with me not being around, my partners weren't quite as into the business as I was, so that eventually went downhill and we were forced to sell. So anyway, my point being is I've been in and out of various things that are unlimited by imagination, but pretty much are limited by financials. The thing I did learn about having two clinics that eventually became the first HMO in Green Bay, which was a health maintenance organization back in the 1900s, is that you can whistle right past 0 as far as being in debt. I mean, 0 means nothing. It actually means you're doing all right. I stopped counting at being in debt for over $10 million. So, being in debt for $10 million, once you get used to it, it's like nothing. 100,000 is nothing.
I love how fearless you are.
Yeah. So
great advice.
Yeah, in 1994, I came over to a very small little town called Fountain City on the west coast of Wisconsin on the Mississippi River for deer hunting, and walked into this old tavern called the Monarch Tavern. It was established in 1894, and they had this sheet hanging out as a sign, and they had hand painted it with a big brush and silver paint. Step back into history. The Monarch Tavern, established 1894. And I walked in, and it was a place, that's where I'm sitting right now, that, believe me, you would not walk into. It was a smoky old bar, kind of the old sawdust on the floor, a fight on Friday night kind of place. But it had all this beautiful furniture and back bar and everything like that from 1894. And I stayed upstairs for the week of deer hunting, which had been not in business since the 1960s. And it was me, the bats, and the bees up there. And 6 months later, I bought it. And we've been in May of 1995, and we've been working on it and renovating it and expanding it, and so forth ever since then. And now it's recognized as the oldest continually serving bar or pub in the state of Wisconsin. And we've also expanded by bringing on the old original Fountain City Brewing Company, which went out of business on May 6, 1965. And we started on May 6, 1995. We brought those recipes back on May 6, 1997. And on May 6, 2020, we started building next door outside this wall, the first building for the Fountain City Brewery. And so we hope to, we did something unique again. Instead of going right out and spending $250,000 or more to buy equipment, we signed a contract with a very successful microbrewery in La Crosse. And they will be working with us to brew our beers, our recipes, get the labels approved, trademark, work with the ATF to get all the license. It's going to take a year to get through the federal hoops and everything. And by then we'll have some more investors and go from there. A business owner never invests his own money. You always find other people to help him. There's a secret.
That's a great tip.
It's called OPM, other people's money.
OPM.
You have to convince them you have a viable idea. So as part of that, we have a separate corporation, the Fountain City Brewing Company. And then I have another little subdivision called the Irish Traveler, which is imports and everything from Ireland that I buy and resell here. A little coffee shop called Main Street Coffee. And my final one here. In 2019, we went on vacation to Mexico to a little place called Isla Mujeres, which means island of women from the Maya days and everything. And it's right off the coast of Cancun. I'm sure you've heard of Cancun. This is a little island in Quintana Roo, the state of Quintana Roo. And I met a gentleman down there who was a restaurateur, and we hit it off. Of course, when you're drinking tequila, it's not that hard, but to hit it off. But he had two restaurants, one of which he was going to close down, and he offered to sell me the one restaurant for $50,000, which to have a place to stay and a restaurant in this beautiful paradise for 50 grand. What's that? After 10 million, what's 50,000? So we talked, and he got ill over the winter, and so it kind of fell apart. And then we were on vacation again in February of this year, and we went to the same place and talked further to this gentleman. After he had closed this restaurant, he still had the liquor license. So I bought the liquor license. Put together a separate corporation, which is in Mexico, which isn't easy to do if you're a Yankee from Estados Unidos, you know. So we have that ongoing, and we're going to be partnering with one of 2 or 3 different small brewers in Cancun and Playa del Carmen to actually make beer for us down there under that label. It's called Las Brigada de los Patricios, the Brigade of the Patricks. And big story about the Los Patricios in Mexico. But so now I'm an international businessman, and for a lot less than $10 million.
Yeah.
That is an amazing story.
Yeah. Yeah, either that or it's just one of the dumbest things anybody can do with their life. I don't know.
I like to go with amazing.
Yeah, okay.
And I probably do have some pictures from my mom's photo album from Fort Atkinson High School, Wisconsin, of
Lord.
the two of you. And I may just post them. Who knows?
Ooh.
We were deadly, deadly gorgeous.
You were definitely deadly gorgeous.
Hey, you stand next to a beautiful woman, you automatically look at her.
Aw, she'll love that. What kinds of challenges did you and Lori or your partners face, and what made you continue on your journey to be successful?
Because I hadn't been. And my belief is that it's not juggling if you only have one ball in the air. I operate best when I have multiple balls in the air and with multiple challenges. And failure isn't anything that is a word that doesn't exist. It's a learning experience, and I've learned from every experience. So wisdom comes from experience, and experience often comes from making a bad decision. So I've made those decisions, and I've learned from every one. And I've also learned to cut back, to cut loose anything that doesn't serve me moving forward. So I've had the IRS, I've had you name it, I've had after me, and I've learned to overcome every single one of those things. And what did each one of those things teach me so that I can continue to move forward? The secret to becoming a success is sheer perseverance. There is always a way. You do not give up. Winston Churchill, famously said, never, 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 5 nevers, give up. And he's right. If other people can do it starting something in their garage, like people did in the computer industry, jobs and things like that, then why can't I? I'm not living in a garage. I didn't start in a garage. So move forward. Do not give up. Never give up. There is always a way. If you are perseverant enough to ask better questions and find better answers, there's always a way.
I think that's a great point that you make, because part of this episode is kind of themed the should be's. And I think a lot of people think, oh, if I'm going to start a business, I should have my stuff together. I should have like an office that I work for, or I should have all my ducks in a row. But I think what you said is so important, where it's like, you don't should have to have anything. It's like, you can start it literally in a garage. You can start it literally by just walking up to something. Yeah. On your couch. I mean, especially on your couch nowadays, you have the whole internet on your fingertips now. You can start anything now on the internet.
If I would have had this tool,
I can't even imagine.
Back then, I mean, yeah, you'd be reading about me in Time magazine.
Oh, people are going to be listening to you in a month from now about.
Well, it's an amazing tool. I mean, the business that I had doing telemarketing and business to business, and you send out a mailer and you follow it up with a phone call, and then you send them all of the information, then you follow it up to. You had to buy a list. Now you go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, you go on these different things, bing, bang, bing, bing, bing. Instead of a shotgun, it's a rifle shot. It's nice to have all your ducks in a row, but sometimes you're just herding cats.
So true.
You think they're ducks, but they're cats, and you can't herd cats. So you will never be totally prepared. Yeah. But you can be completely excited.
I love that. That's a great quote.
Get excited. Go out. Take the step. You will never know until you take the step. And nobody says you got to make a giant leap and hit the cliff over there and slide down. Take a step. Then start jumping. And every time you take a step, you're going to learn. You're going to pick up something else. Maybe you'll find a partner. You too did. By just happenstance.
It was absolutely happenstance.
Go get lucky.
You can't
lucky is opportunity meeting, and then you answering the knock on the door.
And you can't really meet a partner unless you are taking those steps, because if you just sit at home and do nothing,
that's right.
You have to put yourself out there. I think that's awesome. I love that.
People have a tendency to be overly concerned and overly detailed and overly nitpicking before they'll go. And then by that time, you may have missed your opportunity. You may have missed that window that says, hey, there's something out there that can be successful. And you're going to sit there at your desk or in your garage going, beep, 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 beep. Boy, if we do this, then we can do this. If we do this, then we can do that. I always say, screw it. Go do it. Get out there. Find out.
These are the best quotes. Screw it. Just do it. I'm going to write that down. Make some t-shirts for you. You can sell those. That'll be another one of your.
My wife.
People would buy them.
When we lived in Green Bay, I had this little side bedroom that I used as an office, and she never should have given me magic markers, because all the stuff was written on the wall. I had to repaint the whole room when we sold the house, because it was all full of screw it, just do it.
That's great.
I love it.
So now that I'm older, or
Older.
in my advanced age, Lori says, when you're going to retire? Well, I am retired. Basically, I don't have a time clock. I'm not forced into one place every single day. I have fun every day. And especially in a service industry like this, we're on the Great River Road, which is the most highly traveled highway in the United States, right along the Mississippi
Wow.
River. I
didn't
make new friends every day. Can
Yeah.
you get a better life than making a new friend or friends every single day? And I'm Irish, I get a chance to talk.
It's given you, it seems like, a sense of freedom. Do you feel that with your businesses? Like, some people think it can lock you down, but I think it's a sense of just freedom.
Well, it is freedom to the extent that I don't have to get up at 6:30 and be somewhere at 7. And I can work until 10 if I want to, 10 p.m. I can sit out on my deck and do this on my computer or on the cell phone and get everything taken care of, having a cup of coffee. So there's that freedom. There's also the non-freedom or the stress of, okay, the times when it's like, how am I going to make that payment? What am I going to do this? Well, geez, this costs so much. It's COVID-19. Everybody's going out of business. Not me. What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? And you know what? If you have that attitude and you keep going at it, you will find avenues. Anybody that says to me, well, I was in business once before and I couldn't make it. I tried everything. No, you did not. You'd have tried everything. You'd have asked yourself a better question. You'd have come up with a better answer, and you'd have found somebody that could say yes. And
I love
anybody
that.
that isn't willing to take 7 no's will never hear yes.
Ooh, and I think a lot of people struggle with that. And I know a lot of our listeners do. It's so many people grow up with this fear of hearing no, and they let it sabotage them. And I'm guilty of it. I hate hearing the word no. And I've been purposely recently putting myself in situations where I have to hear the word no, because I find I get more resilient hearing it. And it's like, by the time you hear it 7 times, it doesn't matter. And then you've just built up the muscle of hearing no, and that you don't care anymore.
You built up a big callus surrounding the word no.
You're like, now I'll ask everyone. The
Give
worst they can say is no.
Yeah, give yourself a little physical tool to change your mental attitude. One of the things I did was I created a physical tool in my right hand. And when I shake hands, I shake hands with my right hand. And what is it? They're putting pressure. See, see what I did? I did this and I started laughing. Somebody shakes my hand and says no, I laugh. I have to laugh. I just laugh. I said, well, you don't really mean that. Let me ask you a different way. So I'll take no all day long, but I'll find another way.
I think some people will say no initially too, because it's like, it shows some people how bad you want it. Like,
it's a habit.
Well, yeah, it's like but the people who are persistent, like you said, sometimes it's just a matter of saying it a couple of times in a different way, and they might say yes.
Oh, what has to happen?
We're asking the wrong person,
Yeah, what has to happen in order for you to say yes? That's the question I come back with.
Oh.
What has to happen in order for you to say yes?
Puts the pressure on them.
How good can I help you feel by saying yes? Because I know you want to say yes. Ask a better question, get a better answer.
Okay.
I love that theory. That is a great way to
theory.
approach it.
Not a theory.
A law.
It's a great way to approach it. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So
it's great.
And it's the same thing in life. Whenever life gives you lemons and you make lemonade, look at your mom. She found a different way, didn't she? She asked a better question. She asked other questions. She asked people that could say yes. And then you stay after them until they do. And what happened? And what happened? Now she's still here and she's having a life. I admire her because of that. And for many other reasons, but that one was a damn good reason.
Yeah. She did. She kept going until she found what she needed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what a wonderful skill to have. And not only achieving her desire and her outcome, but she's using that to affect the outcomes for other people. Just in the stories that she can tell and the reality of her situation. So very admirable.
Yes, she is.
And then she had a beautiful daughter too.
Oh,
Robin.
Yeah, I'm
thank
Irish.
you.
It goes. It goes with the territory.
Anything else you want our listeners to know if they're interested in embarking on any type of new adventure, even when they're in retirement age and they're on the couch and they think, you know what, this John guy, he's got it going on. I want to be like John. What kind of advice would you give them?
Boy, my dad would laugh at that one. My advice to anyone, no matter what your age, it makes no difference. How many times do you hear athletes that talk about Leroy Butler? He had braces on his legs. He could barely walk, like Forrest Gump, okay?
Mhm.
And he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He was an all-pro safety for the Green Bay Packers. He was the first one to jump into the stands and do a Lambeau leap. A kid with braces that had to learn how to walk.
Wow.
How many times do you hear athletes say, hey, if I can do it, you can do it?
Mhm.
How many times do you hear anybody that has struggled in their life and they're on Oprah or whoever, and they say, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. If I can sing on Broadway, you can sing on Broadway. The only person stopping you is you.
Mhm.
And who more than you deserves to be happy?
Yeah.
Who? Do you deserve to be happy?
Yeah.
I
What
do.
happens when you're happy to
I
the
love
people
being
around you?
happy.
When you're happy and you smile, what a beautiful smile. When you smile and you laugh around people and you're happy, how
Mhm.
does that affect all those around you?
I agree.
Makes them happy, doesn't it?
That it does.
Power. What a
Everyone.
powerful tool. Go be happy. Make yourself happy. Take a chance. They don't have debtor's prison anymore, unless you owe the IRS 10 million. And even then, they're willing to negotiate.
Right.
Go be happy.
That's great advice.
It is.
We
I
can
love it.
definitely get on board with that one. That's like
All right.
our motto for life. So
Hey, if somebody that is going to watch this, or if you have some friends or whatever, or you, don't hesitate. Drop me a line. Zoom is a wonderful tool.
yeah.
Zoom is great. And Ashley, when you were here on vacation, we almost went to the Monarch Bar, if you
Yes,
remember, to
I
see
know.
John. And you were on the
Almost.
Green River Road.
Almost.
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 Next time
Next time we were definitely there.
I was literally just thinking about that, Robin, today, how I was like, when is the next time I can go back to Wisconsin? Like I was actually like looking up flights, but I'm like, I probably would still drive there.
Well, I recommend you make it before the end of November and sometime after February.
Oh, because of the
It's really like snow and cold. I mean,
I kind of want to, brave it a little bit. I'm from Florida. I'm down for a lot of snow.
we need some toughening up then. You come up here to Bluff Country. This is the most beautiful part of Wisconsin.
Uh-huh.
Huge bluffs all along the Mississippi River. The
Oh,
sun sets
That's
right
so
in the river. Better fly to where the butterflies flutter by.
now I really want to go now.
Okay?
You will.
Anytime.
I will come there.
We'll put
And then
you
we'll
up.
go visit
We'll put
John.
you up with the
Okay.
winery here and everything, and
right.
make sure you're well taken care of.
Yes. Thank you. If
Well,
you ever come to Tennessee, the same thing goes for you.
Tennessee. Ooh, I love Tennessee.
Oh, well, there's plenty to do here, so just
Oh,
let
I
me
know.
know if I'm ever in town.
I was a itinerant musician and banged my way around Nashville.
Nice.
That's another story.
Yeah. We'll have to have you back on once your brewery gets all kicked off.
There you go. Come on up and
Yes.
I'll fill you full of beer and wine and Irish
We
whiskey.
could have an
and a
in-person
few
interview.
songs, and a few songs and dances as well.
Yay. That's so
I love it. Well, thank you, John. We
you.
certainly appreciate it.
Have fun with this. It sounds like a wonderful idea, and
Yeah.
you'll have to train me how to do it so I can do blogs from the Monarch. So
There you go.
Sure. Of
We
course
can.
I'll interview you two, and we'll be on our way.
Sounds perfect.
We'll do it.
God bless, huh?
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye, John.
Bye.